Hi.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Carmen. This is Carmen Allen, everybody. And she lives in Australia. What city?
I live in a tiny little town about 2.5 hours north of Sydney on the east coast
Okay.
called Karua. It's near a
All right.
river.
All right.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
11 o'clock her time when we're
hmm
speaking, and 7 o'clock Missouri time. So,
hmm hmm
yeah, so it's quite a bit of difference.
It is.
And
It is.
yeah. And she writes middle grade books. Um, and I think you write some adult books as well, don't you? You have one that's coming out?
I do have one that's coming
Well, you
out.
can tell us
Yes.
about that. Tell us about who you write for and why.
Okay. Who I write for? I write for kids that are between 7 and 10. Some good readers that are 7-year-olds can devour my books. They're chapter books, and they have a few pictures in them. And they range, there's six in the series. And they start with one book called Molly's Big Decision, and that kicks the story off and sets the tone for all of them. So they are, as I said, they're chapter books, they're allegories. So there's a subtle Christian message underneath them. Um, it's interesting. Some people I've heard say, "Oh, I didn't even realize they're about God." And other people have said, "Oh, I don't need my spirituality shoved down my throat." So I think
Oh,
it kind of depends
I
where
guess
you are, what your walk with God's like.
yes.
Um, but it's kind of like I like to think of them. They're not parables, but I like to think of them as for those who have ears to hear. The message is there, and I definitely have a note in the back of each of them, a note to kids and a note to parents about what the book's about. So I sort of land it there, but there's no mention of God in there, and that's on purpose because I really want parents and grandparents to feel that they can give these as gifts to family members who don't know Jesus yet, and they won't feel like they're ambushing them with, you know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
overt Christian stuff. So,
It's kind
yeah,
of
so
like a mission. Yeah.
which has been a little bit difficult to promote them and market them because it's like, well, I'd like everyone to read them, but definitely Christian audiences love
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
absolutely love them. So I've had readers from all around the world find me and contact me, which is really exciting.
Uh-huh.
South Africa, Uzbekistan,
Oh,
India, the
yeah.
UK, America, of course. Yeah. So yeah,
And
and
all your
yeah,
books are available from Amazon, I guess.
they are from Amazon. They are from my website. At the moment, shipping's only to Australia, but that's about to change. I've found a new way to get them to the US, which won't cost the US buyer an arm and a leg. That it'll ship um, like from a local depot, not far from
Oh,
you, which
we'll
is
have to talk
really
about
exciting.
that later.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. I've got to do a test run for my son who lives in the States. I thought I'll give that a go. So
Okay.
yeah, Amazon, but the ebooks are available from a lot of different platforms like Barnes and Noble, um, Google Play, yeah, anywhere that you
So
can buy ebooks.
are you self-published or are you through a publisher that's not you?
No, I'm self-published. I just sort of stumbled into it all, Kathy. I didn't know what I was doing. I wrote Molly's Big Decision, got it all illustrated and everything, and then thought, how do I get it out there? And so I ended up just getting advice from another author who wrote adult crime fiction, and just he said just go to KDP Publishing, and I followed my nose and read blogs, learned how to do it all, and that's actually something I'm incredibly passionate about is helping upcoming authors learn how to self-publish. Like, if I could clone myself, I would be doing that just as much as I am writing and doing my own marketing. I
Mhm.
just love helping authors get their word out
I
there.
do
So,
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't want them, I want to be able to say, no, no, don't do that. It won't work.
Uh-huh.
Just do this, learn from my mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And so is there something that happened that made you want to write? I mean, or did you always want to write?
I was a big reader when I was a little girl. Absolutely loved Famous Five books, Enid Blyton books, Secret Seven, Hardy Boys, things like that. So I was always a reader. When I was 14, I stapled some pieces of paper together and wrote my own little mystery story. I think I wrote some of it in science lessons. I hated
Oh.
science. But anyway, moving right along. But then I would say probably about 20 years ago from now, I I had a series of dreams. You know that moment just before you're fully awake and you're sort of becoming awake and you don't know what day it is or necessarily where you are. You could be on holidays or whatever, and your brain's sort of going, is it Friday? Is it Saturday? Just in that little period of time, I had a dream of a little girl with a golden pouch full of magical coloured tokens skipping down a hill away from a palace. That was it. Next day, had a bit more of the story. And so, being a Christian, I was like saying to God, what is this story about? Uh, Is this just something about me? Am I the girl? What are the tokens? um, and anyway, then after I kept having quite a few dreams, I thought maybe I should be writing this down. So I did. I wrote it down and I ended up developing that into a story. And then I was working at a school in an admin position. So I asked the librarian, would she read it to one of her classes, her year 3, year 4 class? And I said, just to see if they like it. She said, oh, they loved it. You couldn't have heard a pin drop, with it. They just loved it. I was like,
Oh.
okay. So this is back in the days before email, right? Maybe it
Oh,
was
before
25
email.
years.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I printed it out, photocopied 6 copies, sent it off to publishers all around the world, and heard nothing back. So after 6 months, still heard nothing. So I saved it on a floppy disk. You remember floppy disks?
Yep. Hmm.
Except the one I've got's not so floppy. Shoved it in the drawer and told myself, you're not a writer. Don't ever think you could write a book. You're hopeless. And just tossed it aside. And I tell kids this story when I go and do author talks in schools. Um, and then in 2018, so I kind of forgot it. It was just sitting in the drawer for 18 years or whatever. 2018, I was at work. I worked at a TAFE, which is like your community college, I think.
Hmm.
Sort of
Hmm.
not university, but you
Right,
can
but
still there.
usually 2 year,
Diplomas and things.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
certificates.
or trades.
Yes.
That's where trades get training. Yeah. And I was in a position where I had to design a flyer, but all the copy for it had to be tested down in Sydney in head office in the marketing department. And I sent this guy some stuff and he sent it back and he'd only tweaked a few words, but it sounded so much better. And I can only say that it must have been God because I had this thought and I said to him, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? I think we were just on the phone.
Yeah.
Do you do this kind of thing with books? I've written a children's book. Do you check the grammar and punctuation and everything? He
Hmm.
said, oh no, that's a different type of editing. I'm a copywriter, not an editor. You need a book editor. And I said, oh, do I? I was so naive, right? So, well, I didn't know. So, long story short, he put me in touch with an editor that he happened to be having lunch with the next day. And I got Molly's Big Decision. I had a structural edit done on it. And then after a few more edits and it coming back and forth, and then a copy edit, and then a proofread, it was finally ready to publish. So, the moral to the story, anybody who wants to write a book, you cannot just put it out there without getting it
Oh
edited.
no, that's so important. Yes.
Yeah. So, um, so yeah. So then I found an illustrator online. I was just searching for I don't know what I was searching for,
Well, you
children's.
probably knew what kind of style you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a bit confused over the genre to start with. I knew it was middle grade, but I knew it was lower middle grade. And anyway, found a fantastic illustrator in Utah that had illustrated like 450 books or something. And interestingly, as we got to know each other, sending things back and forth all the time, I discovered that his sister was really ill. He was
Mm.
losing his sister and I was losing my mum, and we
Mm.
were both Christians. So, God had just connected all
Oh,
this yeah, it was amazing. So, um, and that's, yeah, the adult book that I'm writing now is actually my memoir, which is not an autobiography. It's not my whole life story. I'm sure everybody be bored out of their brain reading my whole life story. It's just that period of time that I wrote the Molly Greenwood Adventures because it started. That meeting, finding that editor happened at around the same time that my parents were diagnosed with dementia and then mum with cancer a few months later, then dad with cancer. So
Oh,
it's kind of my memoir's about the story behind the Molly Greenwood Adventures. This is what was going on in Carmen's private life, which was I was completely falling apart behind the scenes. And Molly and her life and her stories became my light in a very dark tunnel. So, I'd lay in bed at night and, the worries and concerns about everything would be going on. And I'd just think, so how can Molly get out of that pit she's just fallen into? It was just
well,
somewhere really nice to put my brain and my
uh-huh.
imagination.
That's
And I think
good.
God was so kind doing that for me. Like,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
amazing. I look back now and I think, and people have said, how on earth did you write and publish 6 books while you're walking your parents through all of that? And I go, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
it was your, I don't know what that would be called. Not really an escape, but
I think it was
a
the grace of
shelter,
God.
maybe a shelter from
Yeah,
the storm.
yeah. And just God giving me that ability to even learn how to self-publish and how to do marketing. And I'm sure, like you've learned, you know, getting
Mhm.
word out there. It's one thing to write it, but then knowing that you've got a book that
Mhm.
can
My
genuinely
favorite
help
thing is
people.
I love school visits. That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah, yeah. I do too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember the first one I did, thinking I might be really nervous. And I can remember I had 2 sessions back to back with year 3 and then year 4. I think I spoke to 120 children total. And when I walked out, I was like on a high. I was like, oh, I love this.
Uh-huh. Well, it's so nice to be able to see the children and have
Yeah,
them ask
yeah,
questions and
yeah,
just yeah, and
yeah,
you ask them questions. It's really nice to have that
yeah,
interaction.
yeah. And I think it's kind of cute that you come into a classroom or into the library. A lot of my talks are in
Mhm.
libraries. And the librarian was saying, we have Carmen Allen here, who's a real live author,
A real live author. Yeah.
as opposed to a dead one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So, but yeah, so I've done
and
the
you were
six
telling me
book.
before we started about your husband
Yeah,
doing
so
some
let's say that.
drawing for you.
Yeah, so my husband Steve, we've been married 40 years this year.
Oh,
Around the same time that I was put in touch with this editor, he and I went on a holiday together to a place called Port Macquarie, which is on the coast about 2 hours north of us. And I said to him, are there any kind of hobbies you'd like to pursue? Like you work so hard at work, you work so hard when you come home. He does a lot of jobs around the house because I've got a crook back. And he said, I wouldn't mind drawing. I said, really? Well, let's see if there's an art shop. So we went down to the local art shop. He spent about half an hour talking to a lady in the shop, came home with about $40 worth of, you know, different
books.
pencils and
Oh.
pads and, erasers and stuff like that, just drawing tools. And then he just started looking up YouTube videos and
Mhm.
signed up to some Udemy courses, which were quite cheap. Started learning how to draw, and within 6 months, he was drawing the most amazing portraits of people. He loves drawing like just headshots of people. So good. I would say to my friends, Stephen's a really good artist and he's never known it all his life. And they'd be like, oh, that's nice. And I'd go, no, 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 whip out my phone. Look. And they go, oh my gosh, you can draw. It's like, yes. So after he'd been doing that for a couple of years and I was on to book 2, we couldn't afford to hire Jamie, who did the first book. I'd lost my job and we just couldn't afford it. So I said to Steve, do you reckon you could draw the illustrations for my Molly books? And he went, no way, no way. He said, it's a totally different style of drawing. I could never do that. And, I said to him, yeah, but if I had have asked you whether you could draw these portraits a few years ago, you would have gone, are you kidding? So he said, okay, I'll give it a go. So, yeah, he started teaching himself how to draw like more cartoony caricature.
Hmm.
drawings. And so he illustrated the next 5 books. So now that the Molly Greenwood series is finished, and I've actually just finished outlining my next series, and they will be for tweens, like 11-year-olds up,
Hmm.
good readers who don't need pictures. I've let him off the hook now. So no more,
Okay.
you don't have to do me any more drawing. You
Yeah.
can you can just do whatever you want now. So yeah.
Well, that's
So
so cool. And he never
yeah,
knew. And here he
never
is.
knew. No, I mean, I remember years ago when I was teaching scripture in school, sometimes I'd get him to help me draw a person. But no, if you saw what he's doing now, I just think that's incredible that
Well, I
we
never
we
thought
all
I'd be writing either.
no, neither do I never if you had asked me 10 years ago, would I have written a series of children, I would have just looked at you like you're crazy. No, not me. I like reading books, not writing them.
There you go. But then you had those dreams.
Yeah, I know. Had to do something with it, but isn't it?
Well, I think that was on purpose. God did that for
Yeah,
you.
and I had to. There's some things that Molly learns in the first book, Molly's Big Decision, um, where she can't understand why bad things happen to her. Why
Hmm.
do bad things happen? Kind of to good people, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I had been through a real crisis in my faith back in 2016, 2017, when I was working for an organisation called International Justice Mission. They've got their headquarters in Washington, D.C. And I couldn't have written that part in the book unless I'd walked through my own big questions.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah,
it's still a children's book, but there's a thread of what I've learned through
that's,
there.
well, of course. That's
Yeah,
good. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. And is there anything else that we should know about? Is you have a book coming out soon? Like,
Uh, my memoir is coming out in June, middle of June, 16th of
uh-huh,
June. It's called Grief's Gift. Um, and I also have, this is my Molly's Big Decision, if you can see
uh-huh.
it. I have that as an ebook. If anybody would like a free copy of the ebook, then they just need to go to my website, which is Carmen, and then the letter L for that's for my middle name, and then Allen, carmenlallen.com, then a slash Molly.
Okay.
It's quite
And
simple.
then we would sign up for your newsletter then
Yes, so
and get the
you
free
will get
ebook.
one. Yeah, so that will, yeah, you'll be able to download that, whatever device you use. There'll be a
Okay.
link to the book funnel where you can download the ebook.
Oh, nice. Book funnel. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. So if you've got a Nook or a Kindle, or you just want to read as a PDF on your tablet or on the computer, you can do all of that. So book funnel are good that way. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
so, and then you'll be on my newsletter, and I usually send a newsletter once a week. So, and I think, like, when I looked at your website, Kathy, I think you and I are on the same wavelength about building character in children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a lot of different people on my newsletter list. I have adults who just love reading kids' books. I have parents, I have grandparents, I have some teenagers. I have such a wide variety of people that I thought, well, what can my emails be about? So basically, I tell stories, things that have happened in my life that are weird and wonderful, and try and connect it to some kind of let's all grow in character from this. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
cool.
think character growth is really important.
It is. It
Mm.
is. Okay. Well, thank you very
Okay.
much for sharing.
Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this for me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.